All right, so let's listen to the question again.
Did researchers name Nanotyrannus for Tyrannosaurus rex fossils with immature features due to an inability to find enough fossils of young Tyrannosaurus rexes? Yes.
All right, so again, the question is they misname, and we can give them some slack. They misnamed a dinosaur. It was a juvenile dinosaur of the same species, but they misname it because they're looking for transitional, in my opinion, um, fossils, and so they jump to conclusions in that sense.
Yes, in short. The name Nanotyrannus was suggested because early scientists didn't have a clear growth series of juvenile Tyrannosaurus rex fossils. They thought the little, lightly constructed skulls they found belonged to a different species instead of young T. rex.
So that is one of the problems that we get, and that's one of the problems that we have with this naturalistic scientific model. But let's keep going.
This is the whole explanation. Paleontologists didn't have many obvious examples of young T. rex fossils when they found the first little tyrannosaur skulls in the 1940s and 1980s. The most famous adult fossils, like Sue, were big creatures with massive bones. There were a few ways that the tiny skulls looked different. They were thinner, had more teeth, and their proportions were altered. Some scientists decided that these creatures were not young T. rex at all, but a different genus because of these peculiarities. Robert Bakker and his team officially named one of these individuals Nanotyrannus lancensis in 1988. The name means dwarf tyrant.
Okay, so again, that's breaking down the history of how we got from one fossil, which is the same species, into believing it was something else. And more data, more understanding, they made that correction. But the overall failure of naturalistic evolution continues to unfold before us.
Tyrant. The fossil record of tyrannosaurs was quite incomplete at that period. Scientists possessed a lot of adult specimens and a few broken fragments, but very few well-preserved specimens that clearly showed teenagers or younger growth stages. It seemed sense to think of the little skulls as a unique animal because there was no developmental series to compare them to.
That's giving them a lot of leeway to be nice. They are working with limited information and a very plagued theses and theory on what they're looking for and how they are to name these species.
2. That scenario has evolved in the last 30 years. New findings filled in the blanks. Specimens like Jane and Petey, as well as a few others, exhibited a distinct pattern of growth from little, thin, toothy tyrannosaurs to huge, strong adult T. rex forms. Bone histology tests, which look at tiny growth rings in bones, showed that these so-called Nanotyrannus species were still young and growing quickly, not fully fledged dwarfs.
Exactly. They were not dwarf of the species. There was actually just juvenile.
Dwarfs. Modern study shows that the differences that were originally used to define Nanotyrannus are what we would expect to see in a young tyrannosaur. So, to set the record straight, juvenile T. rex had longer legs, they also had narrower heads, and more teeth than adult T. rex. As they grew, their heads got thicker, their teeth count went down, and their overall proportions changed as they got older. It appeared like a different species, yet it was just a stage of growth. Most paleontologists today think that Nanotyrannus is not a real dinosaur and that the fossils that were thought to belong to it are actually juvenile Tyrannosaurus rex. The name came up mainly because scientists didn't have enough juvenile fossils to see the normal range of developmental differences. Your idea is correct. Nanotyrannus was created from a little amount of data. As more fossils of young T. rex were uncovered, the necessity for a different genus mostly went away. Thanks, please like, share, and follow.
All right, that's just a short one right here. I will be back in a minute with some other details. Thanks.